class that I created during the pandemic when I was really into studying the old clips and see how the dancers move their bodies in different ways. And one of my favorite clips is from the documentary The Spirit Moves. And I want to give you some information about this documentary because I think it's so important, and sometimes we take it for granted because it's a reference that many of us have seen so many times, but maybe we don't know how special it is that we have this documentary nowadays as a reference for us to study. So the documentary, which is called The Spirit Moves, A History of Black Social Dance on Film, was directed by a Russian woman, a Russian dancer called Mura Den. And it shows the evolution of Black American dance from the 1900s until 1980s. So it's about 80 years of evolution of dance, because we usually only watch the parts which are related to jazz, but the full documentary is almost 6 hours long, and it goes throughout all these different decades of dancing. So it's a really special thing that it's hard to have access to, but it's still important that it exists as a reference. And Muraden shot this documentary for over 30 years. So she really dedicated a long time of her life to this. And why? Like, why did a Russian woman, she used to be a ballet dancer in Russia, and then she went to Paris one night and she saw Josephine Baker performing, and she fell completely in love with jazz and Charleston, and she decided to immigrate to the United States in order to get more access and learn more about these dances. And then, of course, she ended up going to New York, and she went into the Savoy Ballroom, and she was getting to know all these incredible dancers from the 1930s. And she was completely amazed and fascinated with their dancing. And she had this realization that, oh my God, somebody has to make a record of this, of these dancers, of this plays, of these dances. So she decided, instead of really dedicating herself to her own dance career, she decided to dedicate her life to making a recording of all these different dancers. And she was one of the few people that was allowed to record inside the Savoy Ballroom, because they didn't allow cameras to record. So thanks to her, we have a few recordings of the dancers inside the Savoy. So it's a really special thing. And what I think it's interesting, because I think when I started watching clips from The Spirit Moves, I didn't realize it was a documentary, because it's just like clips of people dancing. Sure, it has a white background, which is maybe a bit weird. But there's no interviews. There isn't a lot of like voiceover explaining, you know, what that dance is, like how that move is done or anything. And that was on purpose, because Muraden, even though there are like really short introductions into each chapter, she believed that the dance spoke for itself. So she didn't want a lot of talking and explanation and analyzing about what those dances were. Her focus was just trying to capture the moves and the dancers and their expression on film. And I think that's like, it's really amazing that she had the sensibility to know that the dancers could talk for themselves through their bodies, and we didn't need that much talking to be done on top of it. And the last thing I'll say about the documentary before we move on is that that's a really interesting quote from Muraden when she talks about the Savoy dances that I'd like to read to you. So she said, the Savoy dances, the main thing of the dance of that time, of the 1930s, was hope. They felt triumphant. They felt recognized. They felt that they could, through dance, through music, earn a position of equality. So for me, this quote is really intense and really deep, but I think it summarizes so well and so to the point what she saw that was the real purpose of Lindy Hop, authentic jazz, and all of those dances from the 1930s, because that was a period of segregation. So that was a period of time where Black people were not seen as people. They were not seen as individuals. They were there to serve, to work, to do something in benefit of the others, but they were not seen in a society as really individuals. So the moments where they got to connect with their music and their dancing. Those were some of the very few resources that they had to really express themselves, to connect to their culture, to connect to their feelings, to their people. So in those contexts, they really wanted to highlight their personality and their identities. So this is why we can see that the dancers from the Savoy, for example, each had such different, unique stylings, because you don't want to be dancing like that other person. Like, you want to create your own way of dancing. So even if you see somebody else doing a really cool step and you're inspired by that, you're not going to try to do that step the exactly same way that the other dancer is doing. You're going to think, okay, how can I make this step my own and do it my way so that I can shine through my personality and not through imitating another person in their own personality. So for me, this is really important for us to understand, because self-expression in Lindy Hop and highlighting our identities as dancers, it's not only something that we do because it's fun or because it might help us to connect to ourselves and to connect to others and to the music, but it is also an essential value of this dance and of the people that created it. So for me, it's a very important way for us to respect the origins and the roots of this dance, that we respect the people that created it, because I feel that if we go very far from this really important value, if we start only caring about techniques or how many moves I can do or how many variations I can do of the same step, and if I'm not focused on finding my own voice, my own identity, connecting to the music in my own way, then we're getting away from this really important pillar of the dance. And we don't want to do that. So it's not only that we do something that we do for ourselves, but for me, something that we also do to honor the legacy of the dance, of the Black American culture that this dance is a part of, and all the other original dancers from the 1920s, 1930s that created it. So for me, this is why it's so important that we focus on this issue. Okay, everybody doing good so far? All right. And then also within this context, even though they were suffering a lot in this time, it's important that within this culture, we can allow different feelings to be processed at the same time. So we don't always have to go dancing and be happy. We don't always have to show joy when we're dancing jazz. We can also sometimes feel kind of down, we're sad, we're frustrated, we're stressed with life. Like, I think we can all relate to those things. But I really believe that this dance is a way that we can find a connection and that we are able to express sometimes sadness and joy at the same time. So within Black American culture, it is not a problem that two opposite feelings are coexisting. So you can be sad and you can go dancing, and you can be happy while dancing while still being sad about other things in your life. So it's important that we try to value like the different feelings that we have inside us as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna give a brief overview about how this class is gonna go, like what are the different steps that we're gonna go through, and then we're gonna go right into the warm-up. I'm gonna show you first the clip that I selected from the Spirit Moves that I want to work with you today, which is the clip that they do jazz steps, basically. And as I show the clip, I really want you to look at the different dancers and see how there are moments where you can see that they're all doing the same step, but it looks completely different. Like, you can just barely recognize that it's the same step because it's just such a variety of different ways of doing that same step. So I really want you to focus and pay attention to all that versatility within the same move. And then we're gonna go into warm up, and I picked 2 moves from the clip for us to work on. And we're gonna learn variations from 3 dancers for each move. And again, even though I'm gonna be showing the variation of, I don't say, Leon James, it's my interpretation of what his variation is. So it's not like a direct link to his variation, it's already my interpretation. And of course, as I do that, I don't want you to be imitating me, imitating Leon James. Okay, so I'm gonna give you ideas. I'm gonna talk about what they do with their arms, what they do with their legs, with their hips, and things like that. And then you can explore how those elements work in your own body. So basically the idea is that we look at Leon James and be like, oh, this is so cool. Let's see how I can do something similar with my body. But the goal is never for us to dance like Leon James. Okay, can I get a thumbs up? Okay, cool. So I'm gonna show you the clip now. Please pay attention to the different variations that we can see. I'm gonna try to stop just so I can explain some of the dancers, because I'm not gonna show the clip every time that we're learning a variation. The one with the flower in her head, that's Sandra Gibson. The woman in more like a darker outfit is Esther Washington. Then you have here Pepsi Bethel. And then you have Leon James and all beats. Let's see. This is Pepsi. This is Paul. And then this is Leon with his expressive hands. So these are the 5 dancers that we're gonna be looking at today, okay? Were you able, you can tell me in the chat if you were able to really see like what was your impression of this clip. Maybe you had seen it before, maybe not, but maybe it's for the first time that you're really looking into specifically this feature of how they really have very different expressions in their bodies, even though they're all doing the same step. I have a theory that one of them was shouting out the moves and be like, trucking, and then everybody was doing the trucking because they changed moves kind of at the exact same time. So somebody was coordinating it. So yeah, very solo jazz vibes. Okay, so I'm gonna choose a song and we're gonna start warming up so that we get ready for dancing. That's cool. I like that you can. Okay, yes. I'm excited that I get to see you dancing too, so that's good. I asked Sandra, who's our team tech person today, to also highlight some of you dancing, because like I said, I don't want you to only dance like me the whole time, so I wanted to have reference of other people, so, and we can see each other as if we were in the same room, so yes, okay, cool. Let's go to our first move. So the two moves that I want to work with you today is boogie forwards and fishtails, which we've already done in the warm-up. Because I don't want to take too long explaining these steps, I think maybe most of you already know them. And so, boogie forwards, da, 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 da. We're walking forward, it's chilled. I don't want to give too many descriptions because we're going to see that it can be done in a lot of different ways. But usually we start 8 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's like this accent. And the fishtails, we're going to be going back. So we can also combine that. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. So usually we'll be traveling back a little bit. There's some hip motion. There's a little bit of sliding of the feet, but we'll get more into it very soon. First, we're gonna start with the boogie forwards. And we're gonna look at Sandra Gibson's boogie forward first. So she was the dancer that had the big flower in her head. She is amazing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about her before we go into her variation. Sandra Gibson was her artistic name. Her real name was Mildred Pollard. She had a nickname that was Boogie. And she was really, really strong. And she didn't like flying when there were aerials. So she was usually the base of the aerial. So she would do tricks where she would lift her leader, like the trick, the classic trick that you can see with all means, that all means goes upside down and he's waving his legs in the air. That's Sandra Gibson holding him, just so you know. So I found her really cool. She's like, I don't want to fly. I don't want to like be the base and like hold my leader in the air. So I think that's really cool. And a really interesting thing is that she was friends with all means from a child, since childhood, before they were dancers. They used to sing in a singing group together, and they actually went to the Savoy for the first time together. And they just entered the competition they had that day, and they won the local Savoy competition the first day that they were there. And then they were immediately invited to be part of the Lindy Hoppers after they had that amazing accomplishment. So I love that story. She didn't stay in the White Tees for really long. She stayed there for like 3 years. But she continued in show business as an erotic dancer, singer, and a comedian for the rest of her life. So she always keeps her career going. In terms of her boogie forwards, so she was a big woman and she was really strong. And from what I see in the clip, first she's like really using a lot of her body, and she kicks her legs, like you can see that she's not like softly kicking, but like there's a lot of intention in the way that she kicks, boom, 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 and kind of having the legs open. She also was kind of a sensual dancer, so she uses her hips a lot. So when she's moving from side to side, you can see that she's really taking her hip into that leg, right? So not only thinking about the leg as she moves, but also having the hip follow that. And her arms are also really big. So she has them like open and like towards the sky, raising them up. And she's also moving them as she's doing the boogies. But she's like basically like keeping them up and just like occupying space with her move, okay? So let's just try that a little bit, let's see how that works with your body. Maybe you're like a really shy person and it's just like, oh, this is like so much movement and it might feel a little bit awkward. I'm gonna put some music so we can experiment with that a little bit. Just try using your hips, try kicking your feet. Okay. Okay, nice. I like it. Sometimes it can feel awkward when we're just experimenting with one thing in the song. Like maybe you start getting bored because like I'm just doing the same move with the same variation over and over again. Because as we go through the class, we'll have different variations that we can use. But at the beginning, it's like I'm just doing the same thing. That means that you have to experiment more. So if you start getting bored with what you're doing, it means that you need to allow yourself to do more and go like outside the box, you know? So always the idea is that we have an inspiration, we have something that is guiding us. So what was guiding me is I'm trying to have my arms up in the air, I'm trying to use a lot of my hips, and I'm trying to kick my feet. But you don't have to do it the exact same way as I showed you, or the exact same way that Sandra Gibson does it, but use those ideas to experiment, okay? I think everything is okay. Let's move on. So now we're gonna look at Leon James. He's one of my favorites. So I'll tell you a little bit about him. He was also part of iLindy Hoppers. And he also won like Harvard's Moon Ball a few times. And one of the interesting things about him is that he didn't get sent to World War II because he had poor eyesight. So he actually stayed in the United States and he continued dancing. While like in the 40s, many of other dancers were sent to war. So they had like a interruption in their dancing career, and Leon was able to keep going. Then another important thing about him is that in the 1950s and the 1960s, Leon and Al Mintz were the main sources of information for Marshall Stearns that wrote the really famous book Jazz Dance, which I wanted to bring with me and I didn't. So the Jazz Dance, which is a really important reference that we have in terms of the history of the jazz dances. And Al and Leon were the main sources to talk about the Lindy Hop and the Savoy Ballroom. And because of that, so this book, The Jazz Dance, when it came out, it was a big success, which I think nowadays thinking about how a book about jazz dance history is a big success is like interesting, but it was a success like in mainstream culture. And because of this, Al and Leon were invited to go to a lot of TV shows and do a lot of appearances and record a lot of clips to help promote the book. And thanks to that, now we have a lot of good clips from the 1950s and 60s of Al and Leon dancing, and all thanks to the success of that book. So he was really important in like keeping the history of the dance alive throughout the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. While so many people think that Lindy Hop died, it didn't. Like there were still dancers that were active and that were doing that. Okay, so in terms of Leon James variation, so I'm gonna start with his arms because his arms are my favorite thing. So Leon usually uses a lot of his elbows out. Like he uses a lot of these like sharp shapes with his arm. It can be more like this, so my hands can be more close. I can have my hand out, or it can be a little bit up. The thing is that I have my elbows really open up, right? Sometimes his hands are more closed, but he often play a lot with his hands. I think he has the most expressive hands of the dancers of this time. So you can experiment with your hands open, like you can do like a little bit of jazz hand, they could be doing like a little turn, or you can focus more on moving your shoulders, which are gonna move your elbows for you, and have the hands close, okay? Then, in terms of his leg, he opened really wide from one side to the other, okay? But like Sandra would kick a little bit like more straight. Leon goes from really close to really open. And then to the other side, he goes from close to open. But he really used a lot of space, okay, in his dancing. So if we do the Leon arms, and we go from one side to the other, trying to make it really big. And the other thing that he did is you can see that he's always stepping with his toe, like with the ball of his feet, and then he lets the heel fall. So you go from toe to heel, toe to heel, toe to heel. Really like feeling the whole of your feet slowly getting in touch with the floor. He also does a little bit of hips. Though I would say I think less than Sandra Gibson, I feel like her hips are like more present. And there's like this detail that he does, that it's a bit tricky. And I feel like when I watch that clip, I'm like, I don't know how he does it. So I'm gonna do my best try and try to imitate. But he does a little like crazy legs, feeling his legs feel like made of rubber while he's doing the boogie forwards. In some moments, not all the time. But you can see that he does a little bit of this while he's stepping from one to the other. So sometimes it can be like only a little. Slowly little movement. Sometimes you could stay there a little bit. You can try to make it bigger or smaller. But I find that really fascinating. I think if you try dancing a whole song like this, you have really tired legs in the end. But you can try to do it in some points, maybe in the break or something. So you can experiment with trying to do the other way or the way forward. And then when you want, you can add a little bit of this crazy legs feeling. So I'll put on another song. We'll try to experiment with this Leah James variation. Elbows, hands closed, or use your hands. Move your feet out, crazy legs. And then at some point, I'm also gonna say Sandra Gibson. And then you have to switch to Sandra Gibson styling. And we'll switch in between the two. And also you can experiment doing Sandra Gibson's arms with Leah James' legs, and you can mix up a little bit if you want to experiment more. Okay. But yeah, so the idea is try to experiment with one and then the other and see how you can mix and match with the two variations. Okay. I have one more variation of the boogie forwards, and then we'll move on to the fishtails. And the next variation is by Esther Washington, which is this dancer in the darker suit. And if you were in the WhatsApp group, I shared some information about her the other day because when I was researching about this clip, first of all, it's hard. I didn't even know who all these dancers were, so I needed to take a screenshot and post in like different Facebook groups and ask people like, who do you think these dancers are? This is how I found out who they are, because you can't just see like credits of each part to know who they are. It opened my second chakra with Sandra's variation. I love it, Nico. Yeah, it's hard to stop crazy legs once they start. I love that, like crazy legs is taking over your body. Oh yeah, the clothing definitely influences in their dancing. So if you're using trousers or skirts, like definitely, yeah. I think we're gonna see a little bit of that with Esther's variation that we're gonna see now. She has like a skirt that is like a bit like closer, tighter. So I think that definitely also influences the way that she's moving. So the thing about Esther Washington was like, okay, this is Esther Washington. I haven't really heard about her before. And the thing is, she was also a part of YT's Lindy Hoppers, but there are so very little records about her that we don't know a lot about her life other than she was at YT's Lindy Hoppers. She participated in some of their tours, like the tour they did in Australia. But other than that, I couldn't find much information about her. There was a Instagram post that I shared in a WhatsApp group that had a new information that I hadn't seen. So she was partnered with Billy Ricker, which was another dancer from the YTs. And apparently the two of them created a choreography that was only air steps. And it was like one swing out at the beginning and then like air step, air step, air step, air step. And apparently it was really, really impressive and really amazing. And yeah, that's all the information I have about her. So it's really sad. Like, I wish I knew more about her story to share with you. But even though we don't have a lot of record, I think it's important that we at least like know her name and know that she was part of the YTs, even though like we don't have records and we don't have much more information. But it's so important that we value her and her contributions that we maybe aren't fully aware of. So Esther Washington, let me switch my camera. I have a feeling like that she had a very different personality than Sandra and Lee and James, because she's more of a minimalist, you know, while Sandra was like taking up a lot of space, and Liam also like using his legs from one side to the other, doing crazy legs. Esther Washington is like this. Like, she doesn't even move much. She basically stays in the same place. She barely opens her leg, and her foot doesn't leave the floor. She's always sliding. So her boogie forward is like a little slide from one side to the other. It's like very smooth, very soft. She does a little bit of it, but only a little bit. It's like it's all very in somehow. Like she's dancing towards herself. And her arms don't move much. They kind of stay close to her upper body. And there's like a tiny little bit of movement where you can see the arms go together with the side where she's stepping, but it's not big, you know? It stays really close to her body. And the other interesting thing that she does is that she has a certain combination of how she repeats the left. She will do one side, the other, and then she does 2 times. So it's like 2 slides to this side, and one, and 2. Like a little bit how we do the shim sham, back, 2, and slide, and double, and slide, and double, and slide, and double. So it's very soft, and she most of the times when all the dancers are in the clip, she's like in the far back. She's in the back, and she's dancing like this, you know. I have a feeling that she's like, I don't need to show off a lot. Like, I can be here, I'm doing my own thing, I'm enjoying my own thing, and I don't have to go big to really express with herself. So if I try to guess the dancers' personalities, my guess is that Esther was definitely a little bit shyer and called less for attention than the other dancers that we've seen so far. So let's put on a song and we'll try to experiment with how we feel dancing a little bit smaller and more smooth.
Oh, sookie now. Well, when you tell it like that, nothing left to do. In a mellow tone, feeling fancy free, and I'm not alone. I've got company. Everything's okay. A live long day with this mellow song. I can't go wrong. I'm in a mellow tone, and that's the way it is. If you're more than wrong, something's got to give. So go your way and laugh and la 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 laugh and play. There's joy unknown and inner mellow. You got me hoping, never moping when you know.
Naomi.
Scream, moan, 'cause you know that I'll never ever do. I'd cry all day if it weren't for the joy you bring to me, sweet and true. I pray that you never go away, for surely I'd be sad and blue. The joy you bring to me, I need each and every day. I've got to
And
have
Sandra Gibson.
crazy, 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 baby. I cannot keep away from your love. For today and tomorrow and never a gift, I realize you're the one that I want to spend my life with.
Now you can mix however you want.
We should marry. I know that I'd make you fancy free and happy. And wherever we roam, we would never be alone, but share such joy in a mellow tone.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. Good job. Ah, I love seeing you dance. So cool. Okay, cool. How are you feeling? Give me a thumbs up. Give me comments. Give me emojis. Okay, cool. Awesome. Are we ready to go into the fishtails? So this way we can also be like moving forward and backwards, so we can have more possibilities of experimenting with the moves. Okay, cool. Let's do it. So now we're gonna start with Esther Washington. So we're gonna be same dancer that we just did. We're gonna do her version of the fishtails. So maybe you can guess a little bit, like based on her version of the boogie forwards. So if we think about this identity and this styling of, she kept things really smooth. She didn't really bring her legs up. Her feet are always touching the floor. Everything's really close together. She's not moving much. Her arms are close to her body. So if we apply the same idea to the fishtails, this is what we get. So again, very small moves. She doesn't travel a lot from one side to the other. She doesn't travel back much. She mostly stays in place. Again, none of her feet are leaving the floor. The sliding. Everything I'm doing, I'm sliding. Okay? And again, she does that same repetition. One, bam. So I repeat one, and step, ha, step, ha, step, ha. You can even smaller if you want. So it can be more about changing the weight than really traveling to the side. Okay? She does use a little bit of hip. Also because I think since you're not traveling much, you kind of need to use your hip to be able to do the fishtail. And her arms are also close to her body, but she moves them a little bit more. So she does kind of do this like little wave with the two sides together. Nothing really big, okay? It's still close to the body, but it's just gonna follow the movement that she's doing with her legs and her hips. So if you want, you can like use a little bit of the boogie forward, and then you try a little bit of the fishtail. So I'll put music again, and let's try a little bit. We just try experiment with this Esther Washington vibe, okay? So experiment with the fishtail and the boogie forward, and if you want, you can try doing other steps and be like, how would I do other steps? Thinking about this styling of Esther Washington. So you can experiment with this feeling a little bit, okay? But let's start with the fishtails, boogie forwards, and then you can go and explore a little bit more.
Miss a Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. Don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as a door. Couldn't bear it without you. Don't get around much anymore. Darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why bring back old memories? Been invited to dance. Could have gone, but what for? I couldn't bear it without you. Don't get around much anymore.
Okay. Yes, I'm enjoying it. Let me read the chat. Hawaii feeling. Oh, I like that. I like that description. Which dancer style have you identified with the most so far? Oh, this was iLindy asking. Thank you, Sandra. This is a great question. For me, Esther is the hardest one because I am very extroverted person. So for me, it's very challenging dancing so small and so smooth. This is not my usual style. But it's also why I think I like it so much, because for me, it definitely takes me out of my comfort zone. And I'm guessing for other people it's the opposite. Maybe there are people that are like really shy and like dancing small. And it can be a challenge trying to dance like Sandra Gibson, for example. This is one of the fun things that I like of this exercise, because I think like these two ways, especially Esther Washington, like I think her variations are definitely like out of like very different from what we ordinarily would think that these steps are. So as a teacher, sometimes when I need to explain for beginners like what a boogie forward is, maybe like Esther's variation is not something that I would say that should be done. Like I wouldn't say that your foot is always sliding on the floor on the boogie forward. And then I see, oh, wait, Esther does that. So who am I to say that you can't do that on a boogie forward? So there's just always so many more possibilities to these moves than we often realize. So yeah, I'd love to know what your favorite variations have been so far. I know Esther for me is a challenge. And also like when you find your own identity, doesn't mean that you're always gonna do these steps the same way, right? Because you're never the same person, like depending on the day that you had or the place that you are, what music is playing, you know, if you're really connecting with the band or the DJ or not, if it's a really fast song, if it's a slow song. So there are like all these other variables that are gonna have an impact in how you choose to dance that step in that moment. So it's not like, okay, I found my variation of the boogie forward and I'm always gonna do it like that. That's not realistic. And also we change as people throughout our lives. So it's very normal that the way that we do the steps is gonna change as well. So this is why important to always like experiment and try to connect with our personalities and with our feelings in that moment. I like that some people like Esther because she's introverted. And I love that jazz is not about right and wrong, but about bringing yourself to the music. Yes, this is the whole point of this class, basically. I feel it well with Leon. I think Leon is my favorite too. I have so much fun with Leon. Oh yeah, the song that song was by Giselle Anguissola, who's also one of the iLindy teachers. That's why I was also picking some songs from her. Yes, if the music is chilled, then you want to move more like Esther. That makes a lot of sense. Awesome. Yes. Okay, cool. So for those of you who are into Leon James, we're gonna see Leon James variation now. Which is maybe my favorite. Like ever since I learned this, like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, this is like my personal favorite fishtail that I do ever since that day. Because I also feel it's very unique and very different than what we are used to. So Leon is a little bit more extroverted, okay? And I feel like he's really playful in his dance. Like that's the word. Like he plays, he has fun and he experiments, and he doesn't feel like, oh, I'm gonna look silly. Like he's just having fun. It's like a playground. So he doesn't care. So I'm gonna move to the side to show it to you. Because the big thing about Leon James Fishtail is that, you know, he has his upper body almost horizontal to the floor. So he's like really bent. His hips are really out. And he has his hands together in the front like this. You can bend your knees. And so he's gonna do the fishtails like this. So this part is like really stretched. And then he's really moving his hips from one side to the other, doing like, you know, infinity sign. So let's just try to do the infinity sign with our hips. Okay, we need to move them a bit. Okay. And then the idea that we're able to do this while we are in this position and we're switching. Okay, I know people have like back problems, like it's okay. Like you can bend as much as it's comfortable for you. I don't want you to be uncomfortable. But the thing is that we move from our maybe usual fishtail posture is this. I want to see a difference, okay? And maybe if it's not comfortable for you to have your arms really straightened, you can have them a little bit more together, as long as you're able to move a little bit more freely, okay? And we're still switching foot from one side to the other, okay? He also is mostly sliding because you don't have a lot of strength to be standing a lot, okay? So mostly sliding, and really the emphasis is on the torso that is down and on the hips that are moving a lot. So this time his hands aren't doing like it's mostly like standing still or following the movement a little bit. And you can experiment with how you could use your hips in terms of you can make the infinity motion something smooth, or you can make it sharp. So also depending on the song, depending on the mood and my personality, I could go really smooth with my fishtails, or I can go. You're really be emphasizing and hitting the accents in one side of the other. Okay, so this is the Leon James variation. I love it. Like this is my favorite variation of the fishtails. Are we okay? Any questions about this variation? Because I think it's a little bit like it's different than what we're used to. So if you have any questions about something that's not working out, let me know. So let's experiment with some music, okay? You don't have to, like, we're halfway through the class. Yeah, we have like 30 minutes. So we're gonna do a quick break so you can get some water, but before the break, I want to finish the fishtails. So now you're free to start experimenting with the Leon James fishtails, and then you can go through all of the other variations that we see. So try combining fishtails with the Boogie forwards, okay? Both in the variations of the dancers that we see, and also just experimenting and finding your own groove, okay? Okay. I kind of don't even want to stop the music because I want to keep watching you. But if I don't, then we won't see all the other things that I want to show you still. Nice. This is so lovely. I'm so excited. And like, wow, there are like 93 people here. I'm impressed because I feel like it's a free class. So often people will like sign up and then not be here. But 93 people came. Like, this is amazing. So thank you so much. I'm so excited about sharing this that I'm really passionate about. So we have one more fishtail variation that we're going to look at, and it's Pepsi Bethel. So it's one of the dancers that I haven't talked to you about. So I'm going to give while you get some water and breathe a little bit. So Pepsi Bethel, I think he's often less known than the other dancers because he wasn't really part of the Whitey's Lindy Hoppers, even though he often performed with them. But he wasn't originally from New York City. He was from North Carolina. So he grew up there. So that's why it took him some time to be able to finally travel to New York and go to the Savoy and start collaborating with the dancers there. So he wasn't like officially part of the Whiteys. And I love the fact that he's called Pepsi Bethel, and it's a nickname because of Pepsi, the drink, because it was his favorite drink when he was a child. And his grandmother used to call him Pepsi. And it's just a nickname that became his whole artistic name, and that stuck forever. His real name was Alfred, but nobody even knows what his real name was, things that happen. So he was from North Carolina, and even like in the 30s, he created his own dance group there that was called the Southland 400s. And then around the 30s and 40s, he also went to New York for the first time, met the Whiteys, and started sometimes traveling to New York to be able to perform with them. He did win also the Harvest Moon Ball sometime in the 40s. But something really interesting with Pepsi is that he stayed really, really active as a dancer, choreographer, researcher throughout his whole life. He passed away in 2002, if I'm not mistaken. So he's also one of those people that continued creating in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, when so many people say that Lindy Hop was dead. So in the 50s, he actually got a dance scholarship to study modern dance in Adelphi College in New York. So that's when he actually moved to New York in the 1950s. And he was trained also as a ballet and a modern dancer, which was not very common for Lindy Hoppers. And that actually gave him a lot of new perspective, new ideas, new work opportunities as well. And I think it was important that it taught him how to take care of his body really well, because he even said in an interview, like, Lindy Hoppers didn't care about warming up, didn't care about, stretching after the practice. That was not something common in that time for Lindy Hoppers to be really taking care of how they care for their body so they can keep dancing healthy for a really long time. And because of this training Pepsi did, and that allowed him to have a really good physical condition for many, many years so that he could keep dancing. And then in the 1960s, he created his own dance group that was called Pepsi Bethel, Authentic Jazz Theater. And they performed folk dances, African dances, and Black American social dances. So he would do a variety of things within Black American and also African culture. And in 1969, they were selected to do a tour around 9 African countries, which was a really important thing at the time. And then also in the 60s and 70s, he taught at Alvin Ailey Dance School, which was really also something really important at the time. It's a really important dance institution in the States. And he kept creating, and he had a lot of, he had written a lot of things. He had a lot of manuscripts talking about the different styles of dancing and a lot of creative things that he had done. And one day his house caught fire and he lost all of that. And he became really depressed in the end of his life because he had lost all the records of all the work that he had done. And unfortunately, I think nowadays we also don't have so many records and so many references of some of the things that Pepsi did, because all of that got lost in that fire. So that's a really sad end of his story. And I do think he contributed so much, and I do feel we don't talk about him enough nowadays. So, and he's really creative in his version of the Fishtail, which is really fun. So I think wait, let me change my camera again. If I just saw Pepsi doing this step, I don't think I would have considered it a fishtail. If I just look at the steps separately, I would say it's something else, it's not a fishtail. But in the moment of the clip where everybody's doing a fishtail, Pepsi's doing this. So this is why I decided I'm gonna consider it a fishtail, because if Pepsi considered it a fishtail, then who am I to say it's not a fishtail? But I think it's a really creative and fun twist on the fishtail. So that's why I also chose this variation to share. So what he doesn't switch weight from one side to the other. He stays in both feet and he goes. So he goes up and I'm sorry, he goes down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and he's twisting his hips, right? So you have the hip motion, but it's like this, with the legs that are together and the knees that are bouncing. This is gonna help me with the hip move. So you can use your arms to help you with balance and to just have energy to down, up, down, up, up, down, up. But we don't want to stand up too straight. We also want to do a little bit of the torso down, similar to what Leon James does. because I feel like this also gives a little bit of the fishtail feeling to the move, okay? So it goes like this. And you have two options to do with the arm. So you can have the arms out, which is one of the things that he does. And he travels back, okay? So you can be traveling back while you do this move. Or he also claps his hands. So it's a bit like a fishtail with a boogie band. But I think that this is really fun. You can tell me in the chat, like, what do you think of this fishtail variation? Definitely the most unique fishtail variation that I have ever seen. Oh, people love it. Yes, I think it's so awesome. Yeah, the middle ground is Sandra. Yes. Yes. Okay, cool, awesome. So I think we can put a song and we can start with our Pepsi Bethel variation, and then you can move between the different steps and different variations that we've seen. And like I said, you can take inspiration from the style and the idea from each variation and apply it to other moves. Okay, let's dance. And then we do a quick break. And then I have some really, I'll announce a few things, and then we have I have two really, really unique moves to teach you before we finish. So let's dance. Yeah, I like it. I put a more upbeat song too, and I said that you're jamming. You're jamming. Yes. I'm having so much fun. Okay, so you can sit down, breathe a little bit, drink a little bit of water. I'm gonna talk about some things while we take 5 minutes of resting, and then we'll finish with some of the coolest moves that from this clip. Like I love. They're not I don't have really names for these moves, but they're just a very unique movements that one is from Leon and one is from Paul. that I love doing, that I want to share with you, so we can like let go and be very silly at the end of class. But while we breathe a little bit, so I want to talk to you about like why as iLindy we decided to do this class. Like I said a little bit at the beginning, I'm not sure if everyone was here, like at iLindy, like we're an online dance platform that we really value the different identities in the dancing. This is why we're like one of the very few platforms that actually has multiple teachers instead of having just one teaching couple, because we really want to, we see dance as a holistic experience. So that's connected to our feelings, to our personalities, to our background, to our culture, to our stories. And we think that self-expression is one of the most important elements in the dancing, especially when we're talking about a Black American dance. It's one of the pillars, it's one of its values. So we try to offer classes that not only are teaching moves, you know, it's not only vocabulary, not only technique, but really classes that guide you in exploring different elements in your body, connecting to the music in a different way, connecting with the history of the dance to take inspiration and then take that learning and adapt in how you can do it in your own way. And so we decided to do this live class, which is called Move Your Spirit, in relation to the spirit moves. But this is actually one of the openings of one of the new things that we're launching today, which is called Groove Your Own Way, which is a dance challenge that lasts for a month. So it's 1 month where you'll get access of different classes. You have every Monday, you get the new release of the classes that you can take. They are pre-recorded, so you can organize your time to take the classes in the best day of the week. You can do 1 class per day. You can take all classes in the same day. That's another possibility. And all classes have exercises like this, where the teacher is gonna help guide you through exploration, so you can try to find your own expression, find your own voice in the dancing. And there are multiple teachers that are part of this challenge. So there is Agustina Cero from Argentina, there's Felipe Braga, there is Chester Whitmore, Tydrick, Victor, Giselle Ngasola, and Tashara Gavin Moorhead. So these are like all the teachers that are part of the challenge. I was the person responsible for creating the whole idea of the challenge and creating all the whole content, organizing the content together with what the teachers are providing as material. So each week you have access to these classes. We have always every week also what I call a bonus material, which is not exactly a class, but it's either a podcast, a blog article, an academic article, another YouTube video, that talk about self-expression in multiple ways, related to jazz or related to dancing, related to your life. So you can really dig really deep into this topic of self-expression and immerse yourself in it for a whole month. And besides that, we're gonna have like a community group, and there's a WhatsApp group. Well, you get like exclusive material from the teachers, sending voice messages, encouraging you to keep with the challenge and keep exploring doing the exercises. And you have this community, like you saw there, we're using a new system, which is called NAS, which is where you registered for this class. And then in that system, you can see that there's a community. So the idea is also that you can take inspiration one from the other. So you can see that in class, we're also like highlighting everybody that is participating. So it's not only about you taking inspiration from the teachers, but also you can see the other people, the other dancers around the world that are also doing the challenge with you. And you can share videos, share insights, share how you're feeling, if you're struggling, or how you feel like you're improving each week. And after those 4 weeks, we're gonna close up the challenge on the 19th of April with another live class, but not with me, but with Agustina Cero from Buenos Aires. If you don't know her, she's incredible. She's one of my favorite dancers and one of my favorite teachers. The way that she's able to guide you through improvisation and through like exploring your body, I think it's really unique and really special. And you're gonna have some classes that you're gonna watch with her throughout the challenge. And then at the end, there's actually gonna be a live class, so you can also interact. She can see you dancing, you can ask questions. So it's like a really intense experience that we're offering. It's the first time that we're doing this type of dance challenge with all these new features and all this interaction. So we're really excited, and we hope that everyone's gonna feel inspired to join. The cost of this challenge is $40 for the whole experience, but you have a discount because you are here and you participated in the live class today. So soon Sandra is gonna drop a special link in the Zoom, and then also in the WhatsApp group later. So through this link, you have a special discount. So instead of paying $40, you pay $30 for the challenge. But that's only valid if you sign up today. And also, if some of you maybe are already iLindy users, if you are already a member of our subscription platform, then you have a bigger discount, which is 50% off for our current members. And you'll get a little while after the class, you're gonna get an email with another exclusive link that you can get the 50% discount. Okay, so these are my, if you have any questions about the challenge or how the experience will be, feel free to drop them in the chat or write to us on WhatsApp too. English or Spanish is fine. But now we want to finish. We want to finish this class with really awesome moves. So we're gonna do, which one do I do first? Let's do all means, because we haven't seen all means yet. I'm not gonna talk a lot about all because he has a similar story. Like, remember, Sandra Gibson was friends with All Means in the singing group, and they joined the Savoy together and competed and won the first day, and they went to the White Lindy Hoppers. So that's like All Means. And then he went with Leon James during the 50s and 60s, part of the Marshall Stern's book investigation as a reference, and did a lot of TV shows where we can see a lot of his dancing. And then I think the other important thing about All Means was in the 1980s, as new people were getting interested in Lindy Hop, he was one of the dancers that people reached out first, and he started dancing and he started teaching a few classes in New York and also in Sweden as well, before people reached out to Frankie Manning. So in 1984, you can see some clips of All Means in Sweden, training people, giving interviews, but unfortunately he passed away a little bit after that, and that's when people really reached out to Frankie Manning, and he started being the whole ambassador of the dance. But before Frankie got this whole attention, All Means was actually the first person that started doing this job, but unfortunately he passed away just 2 years after, and he couldn't continue. So unfortunately we don't have a lot of time from that, but nowadays we have his daughter, Denise, who is doing a lot of things for the Lindy Hop community, so she's still like keeping his legacy alive. But let's get to some dancing before we wrap this up, and I'm gonna switch my camera again. So, okay, so now we're done with Boogie forward and Fishtail, we're going to something else. Maybe some of you know a move called the Black Bottom, which is this. Okay, so this is a Black Bottom was the dance from 1920s. I'm not gonna get into it, but there's this move that we sometimes do that is called the Black Bottom. And the move that All does in the clip for me is his version of the Black Bottom. But, okay, I should clean my hands. But it starts with licking his fingers, okay? So this is the thing, you go. You can really lick it. I usually really lick it, but you can just pretend. Okay, you don't have to actually lick your fingers. You can just pretend if you're licking. So you go, lick, lick, and we're gonna be switching weights from one side to the other. I'm gonna show with the other hand, so you're doing it with your right. You go, lick, lick, and then you clap, and then you touch. Okay, so it's like lick, lick, you clap, while you start lowering your torso, and then when you step again with your left, you touch it with your right hand. So like right, left, and right. And then you go up and up. Okay? So this is the part that reminds me of the left butt. So you go lick, lick, clap, down, hand, and he does a little shake at the end, okay? Which you feel free to do whatever feels good to you. You can do the whole body. You can do just the hips. You can do shoulders. Okay, you can do the shake that feels good for you. Okay, and if I try to put this into counts, I'm gonna pretend it's gonna be 2 8s. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But it depends on the song. If the song is really slow, then you can do it just in 1 beat. If the song is fast, you might need 2 beats to do this. Let's try it again. 5, 6, 5, 7, and lick, lick, up, down, and pan. Shake and again, and lick, lick. Then yeah. Okay, I want to see you. 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, and lick, lick, up, down, diddy, 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 hey, hey, up. Get it left time and up. Diddy, diddy, diddy. Yes, yes. I don't know. I just feel good when I'm doing this because I think it's all about. I think so often we take ourselves so seriously on the dance floor, and if you do this, you cannot take yourself seriously. So I think we get into this playful mood that allows us to experiment a little bit more. So I'm going to show one more step, and then we try practicing everything with the music. And the last one is also Leah James. It's also very random variation, and also has a little shaky. Okay, so I'm gonna show you like this. Okay. So it starts with a little shaky movement. Okay, so you can have your knees a little bit bent, elbows out because Leah James has elbows out, and you can use your arms to kind of help to shake your hips and shake your legs a little bit. Okay, so you do a little shake. The idea is like really small little shake. And then again, his torso is a little bit to the front. Okay, so we're not here upwards. We're a little bit like this. So he starts shaking, and then he starts traveling back. Okay, so it's like shake, 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 shake. Like I feel like it's like a little ant, like little ants are moving like on the ball of your feet. So you go, and then this is the most important. I'm gonna come close to the camera. So he has his arms like this. He opens his hands straight and he does this. And that's all. I mean, but while he's traveling backwards. So he's like, I mean, I love this move. This is genius. Like, I would never in my life had thought about doing this, doing a dance path while I'm looking backwards. I'm like, this is originality, you know. This is what we need to experiment with. This is why we need to have fun, so we can come up with these silly things that are just genius. And see, you don't need like a lot of technique. You don't need like you're just having fun and experimenting with your body, and like something so unique happens, you know. So I think this is like really cool to use at the end of a phrase, you know, to mark a break, or if you're like in a jam circle. Then you're dancing, and then you be like, okay, this is my break, and that's it. Like, and then you get in the jam circle. I mean, is there a better way to use a jam circle? I'm sorry, I get really excited with these moves. Do we have any questions? Let me see what you're writing on the chat because I can't read from far. Yes, so much personality. Yes. I mean, that's why I love Leon. Like, I can relate. I feel like I'm a silly dancer too. That's why I love it. Okay, so I'm gonna put on the last song, and I want you to explore with all the variations that we did and whatever else comes to your mind. Okay, so recap. We did Sunny Day Sun. We did Leon. We did Esther. And Esther Fishtail. Leon Jane. And Pepsi. You got and all means and the last one. I'm kidding. I feel like this is how I should finish the class. Okay, let's dance to some music. Okay.
Shiny stockings that I wear when I'm with you. I wear 'cause you told me that you dig that crazy hue. Do we think of romance when we go to a dance? Oh no, you take a glance at those shiny stockings. Then came along some chick with great big stockings too. When you changed your mind about me, why I never knew. I guess I'll have to find a new kind, a new guy who digs my shiny stockings too.
I don't want to finish the song, but it's a long song. Oh my God. This is so amazing. I'm having so much fun watching you. This is incredible. Okay. I had the best time sharing with you some of my passion and my knowledge and my views about the dance. I'm hoping you enjoy it. If you have any questions, please feel free to write me. I'll also put here, feel free to send any messages to iLindy about this class or our next course. You can also add me on my personal Instagram, Gabs Happy Feet. So if you have any specific questions about the class, I'm very free to answer them. And again, we're launching now the Groove Your Own Way challenge is gonna go live today. This offer of the 25% discount for people who participated in the live class is only valid today. You'll also get the information on the WhatsApp group and on the community in NAS. The challenge itself only starts on the 24th of March, so you have time to get ready and find time in your busy schedule. And I hope that I'll see some of you or most of you in the challenge, because I'm also going to be participating. I'm running it. I'm behind things. So I'm going to be following the whole experience from the background. And I thank you so much for your messages. I'm really glad that you liked the class and you enjoyed it. If you record any videos of yourself practicing some of the things that we've seen in class, and if you share it on Instagram, like please tag me, tag iLindy, so I can see more of you dancing, because I was only able to see a few of you. And I'd love to see how each one is taking these moves and doing them with your own personality, your own background, your own body type, because I'd love to see like all the diversity that goes behind this. Yes, so yeah, I hope to see you in the challenge and follow me on social media and stay up to date with iLindy for more information. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you soon. Thank you for coming and dancing with me this Saturday. Saludos a todos los de Latinoamérica también que están acá, y los brasileiros.